"Sir, can I have your leftovers?" And then he saw something that made him call for help. It was a bitterly cold November evening in downtown Chicago, the kind where the wind slices through layers of clothing and finds its way into your bones. Thomas Reynolds, a successful corporate attorney in his late 40s, ducked into his favorite diner on Monroe Street after another 12-hour day at the firm. The smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon wafted through the air, mixing with the soft hum of conversation and the clinking of dishes. It was a haven from the harsh world outside, a warm bubble of comfort and routine. He slid into his usual booth by the window, ordered a hot turkey sandwich with mashed potatoes, and absently scrolled through emails on his phone, barely registering the server's cheerful voice. Outside, bundled in rags and sitting just beyond the reach of the diner's soft glow, was a boy, no more than 9 or 10. Watching each patron inside like someone staring through the glass at another world. His shoes were worn through at the soles, his small hands shoved deep into his sleeves for warmth. His name was Matteo, and for the past 2 days, he hadn't eaten anything but a bruised apple and a granola bar handed out by a passerby. His mother, Maria, had lost her job months ago, and they'd been staying in shelters or wherever they could find a roof since. As Thomas ate, relishing the warmth of the gravy and the crunch of the toast, he noticed movement at the corner of his eye. The boy had stepped forward cautiously, like someone approaching a wild animal. He stopped just outside the diner's door, hesitant. Then, with a voice so small Thomas almost didn't hear it through the glass, the boy spoke. "Sir, can I have your leftovers?" Thomas blinked. He looked down at the half-eaten sandwich, still warm. At first, instinct kicked in, he was tired, it had been a long day, and this wasn't his problem. He almost turned away. But then, something in the boy's eyes held him. A strange mix of shame and hunger. Desperation and dignity. The kind of look that stays with you long after you've turned the page. He grabbed the plate and motioned the boy inside. "Come on. It's freezing. You can have the rest." The boy looked startled, then hesitant. "My mom, she's outside, too. Can she come in?" Thomas stood up. "Of course." Minutes later, Maria and Matteo sat across from him, both wrapped in coats too thin for the weather. Maria's eyes were red, but she nodded politely and murmured thanks. The server brought 2 bowls of hot soup without being asked, her own expression softening as she realized the situation. "I didn't mean to bother you," Maria said quietly. "We've just had a hard time lately. I used to be a school librarian." Thomas listened. Something in him, some buried, untouched place, began to stir. He had passed dozens of people like them every day. Homelessness was everywhere, but he'd learned to look past it. Survival meant staying focused, staying detached. But tonight, he couldn't. Maybe it was the boy's voice, or the way Maria spoke with such quiet dignity, or maybe something in his own soul had cracked open a little. "Where are you staying?" he asked. "There's a shelter near State Street, but it's full most nights," Maria said. "We try to get in when we can." Thomas looked down at the table. Something wasn't sitting right. These weren't addicts or scam artists. These were people who'd slipped through the cracks, just as anyone could. "Do you have family nearby?" "No," she said. "It's just the 2 of us." The dinner turned into a conversation, and the conversation stretched into nearly an hour. Matteo smiled for the first time when the server brought a slice of pie. Thomas couldn't stop watching him eat, it was both heartwarming and heartbreaking. When they finally stood to leave, Maria held out her hand. "Thank you, sir. You've done more than enough." But as they stepped out into the night, Thomas noticed something that made his heart stop. Matteo, despite being fed and warm, was limping. And not just a small limp. He was favoring his right side, wincing slightly with each step. Thomas opened the door again. "Matteo, wait, what happened to your leg?" The boy froze. Maria looked stricken. "It's fine," she said quickly. "Just a fall." He's fine. But Thomas had seen enough. I'm calling someone. I know a doctor, my sister, actually. She's nearby. Please, let her take a look. Maria hesitated, but eventually nodded. An hour later, they sat in a small clinic. Thomas's sister, Dr. Ann Reynolds, ran part-time for low-income families. After examining Mateo's leg and running a quick scan, her expression darkened. This isn't just a bruise, she said quietly. He has a hairline fracture. If it goes untreated, it could become serious. Maria looked away, ashamed. We couldn't afford to go anywhere. And gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You're here now. We'll take care of it. Over the next week, things began to change. Thomas found himself thinking about Maria and Mateo constantly. He used his contacts to get Maria a part-time position in the city library. He connected her with a local housing nonprofit that helped single mothers. He even set up a trust to cover Mateo's school expenses. It wasn't out of guilt, it was something deeper. A sense that, in helping them, he was rediscovering a part of himself he'd long neglected. It wasn't charity. It was humanity. And what started as leftovers became a second chance. 3 months later, on a sunny February morning, Thomas received a card in the mail. It was handmade, drawn in crayons. Dear Mr. Thomas, thank you for your kindness. I'm doing great in school and my leg doesn't hurt anymore. Mom says angels don't always have wings. I think you're one. Love, Mateo. Thomas read the card in his office and quietly turned to the window. Below, the city bustled on, people rushing past one another, never knowing how close their worlds were. He thought of the boy outside the diner, the voice that had stopped him mid-bite. Sir, can I have your leftovers? In that moment, Thomas understood something profound. Kindness isn't about fixing the whole world. It's about doing the good that's right in front of you. A single act. A single decision. A single moment of connection. That's all it takes to change a life. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it changes yours too.